All right, folks, welcome back to Radio's Yard. Yes, it used to be called Krantz's Corner. My next guest is going to only know me from that, but now we're in Radio's Yard here at the Live at a Dollar Podcast Network, and he is one of the greatest voices in sports, television, and radio history. I like to pump him up as much as I can right before I get him on here with me. CBS Sports Turner, man of the people himself, Ian Eagle. Welcome to Radio's Yard, Ian. How are you?
Anywhere you are, Zach, I will join you. It does not matter. That has to give you just an extreme amount of confidence moving forward in life.
Well, I just want to let you know that that's the podcast today. That was Ian Eagle.
That's it.
And we're done. That's
Great
it.
intro.
I don't need anything else. Right. I don't need anything else. Let's jump into some hoops. I'm excited to talk a little hoops with you because I'm not sure the city of New York could handle 4 more wins before the entire thing burns down. Forget about 8 more wins, God forbid, if they actually win the NBA championship. Ian, what a story this Knicks team has been. I didn't know, obviously, Tatum's injury had something to do with that series, but they were winning when Tatum was out there and having a big game anyway. But please tell me about this Knicks story right now and what's going to happen to the city if they win another 4 games.
Well, I think if you've seen any of the video after their wins, I don't even know what the city's going to be like if they continue to win. And I'm not sure what it's going to be like if they lose. It might be riotous either way. It just shows you how long a wait it's been for Knicks fans, for the base. It's been a generation, literally 25 years since they've been to the NBA Finals. And I think because of that, you've had this percolating now for a long time. And I can't even say that this was the squad that everybody thought would get it done.
Right.
After the Detroit series, there were some mixed feelings from the Knicks fans that this team had what it took to actually go on an extended run. But the way they handled themselves in game 1, it was not an outlier. It was not a fluke. It was a legitimate, thrilling come from behind win against the defending champions. And you thought, okay, if they get a split against the Celtics, that's a victory. Well, they do it again in game 2 in very similar fashion. And it just shows you how resilient they are and the connectivity on this team, the leadership of Jalen Brunson, how much they feed off him. And obviously, when things got a little tighter in the series, they handled themselves. The injury to Tatum certainly may have given Celtics fans a bit of an out in trying to understand why it happened, but it doesn't change what took place. The Knicks have earned their spot in the conference finals, and now they're dealing with a highly motivated Indiana team that, Zach, in my mind, Rick Carlisle has convinced them that they're underdogs all the way through. They've got a chip on their shoulder. They believe that they've been disrespected, whether they have or not, and they're using it as fuel as we speak right now.
Yeah, it's an incredible story. Both teams, incredible story. One more for the Knicks. I wanted to ask you, how far up the Knicks legends totem pole is Jalen Brunson heading up? I mean, this guy is fun to watch. Listen, I'm a Heat fan. If it's not the Celtics, it's the Heat I hate. I mean, it's the Knicks I hate. It's just that's it. Of course, you have to be that as a Heat fan. I love watching Jalen Brunson, and I love watching this guy at the end of games. He might struggle early or whatever the case may be. But I'll tell you what, end of game right now, I want Jalen Brunson taking that shot for my team, no matter what team it is. He is so much fun to watch.
He is, and he's got the clutch gene. That's been proven time and time again. He's never intimidated by the moment. And that goes back throughout his basketball life. It's funny with where we are in modern technology. He's young enough that the videos that his dad made when he was a young kid, 7, 8, 9 years old, doing drills in the park and working on his game, are now available. They pop up on your social media stream, and he looks like the same player.
He does.
All of those things. He is so fundamentally sound. He is very consistent in how he goes about his business. What he did at the high school level, many people question, well, could he do it collegiately? Yeah, not only did he do it collegiately at Villanova, he did it at an exceptional level to win 2 titles. And then what was the question? Well, can he do it professionally? I don't know. Look at the size. He's not someone that plays above the rim. He's not an explosive athlete. But he is so meticulous in how he goes about his business, his command of what he does, his bag is deep. The fundamentals, the fundies are so strong. And then the belief. There is a real belief in how he plays and how he carries himself and how players feed off him. It's a pleasure to watch. And I also think he has taken a lot of names along the way of people that disrespected him, that
Mhm.
doubted him, and he has used that as an impetus to create an incredible career so far. And just to answer your question in a circuitous manner,
Right.
he's moved up very quickly
Yes,
on the
yes.
pantheon of Knicks players and legends. Zach, we fall into recency bias a great deal in sports because it's easy to.
Sure.
It's where we are. It's what you last saw or what you last experienced. The reality is the totality of Patrick Ewing's career and Walt Clyde Frazier and
Right.
Willis Reed and Bill Bradley, among others. It's hard to compare right now because Jalen isn't done. But when he is done, it's pretty certain to say that the jersey's going to be hanging in the rafters at MSG, which is obviously within basketball terms a incredibly high honor.
Oh, royalty at that point at MSG, royalty around the league, royalty around NBA, or just
Yeah.
hoops heads all over the place if that's the case there. Okay, so let me quickly go to the Pacers. We talked about him just
Yeah.
a second before. Halliburton right now, he's getting close to that tier of elite player, right? He's got to be close there. He's not there right now, but another couple wins. He's got to be talked about in that conversation. We talk about some of the elite in the NBA at that point. Indiana's a good team. They're deep. I like them. But Halliburton, when he's hot, that team is
Yeah.
really hard to beat.
It's unconventional. And I think
Right.
because it's unconventional, there are people that have not come all the way over to the side that you're discussing, which is elite NBA talent. He was part of the US Olympic team. And the
Mhm.
reason why is because he gets others involved. I think that's the reason why he got the spot over Jalen Brunson. Many would say Brunson has been the superior performer, but Halliburton's all around skills and
Right.
his unselfishness. Brunson is asked to do more. He's got to take on the lion's share of the scoring. Karl Anthony Towns' presence has certainly changed that a bit, but late in the game, it's Brunson time, and it's often him, isolation, dribbling the ball, working against a defender, juking the defender, creating a mismatch, using his body, using his crossover skills and making something happen. Halliburton, you've got to respect as a shooter, which he's proven, and he's done
Right.
it in crunch time, and as a passer, facilitator, which has been equally impressive in how he's performed. I just think there's this layer within the league, even the most recent poll that we heard, and it wasn't every player that was polled, but it was a survey where he was voted the most overrated player in the
Right.
NBA. Do you take that to heart and say, well, everybody feels that way? Of course not. But there is a faction within the NBA that just doesn't quite buy it with
Hmm.
Tyrese Halliburton. It might be because he talks a lot. It might be because he played in Sacramento and then Indiana, not the biggest markets in the NBA. Who knows the reasons behind it? But he's trying, I think, to get over that hump of perception, and a trip to the NBA Finals would certainly go a long way in doing that.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that this is a fun matchup for NBA people
Yeah,
all over the world.
big
If you
time.
love the NBA right now, yeah, of course, Boston, Cleveland, that 1 versus 2, if they would have both made it there and Tatum could get hurt, would have been a fun series to watch. Yet I still think there's history. New York and
Yep.
Indiana, there's just so much good history between the bad blood, everything here in this history. And the fact that game one's going to be from MSG, Ian,
Yeah.
I'm going back to what we first started in the beginning. I don't know how that city is going to handle it, but game one of the Eastern Conference Finals, that should be a fun one to watch. I'd like to just be in the city, but probably in like the 20th floor of a building, over MSG watching that. Probably not on the street at that point, anywhere near that. Let's head out west. I know you called a couple West Coast
Yep.
games also. Minnesota, Anthony Edwards, one of the faces of the NBA, and SGA and that Oklahoma City team. This is going to be a fun series too, although it's weird because how many games, whether it's closeout games or just random playoff games, have just been absolute blowouts, and
Yep.
Oklahoma City's been in a whole bunch of those.
They have. They are a team that has the resume. They've done the necessary steps that you look for in the NBA, the evolution of a team that's ready to maybe vie for a championship.
Right.
They've been through all of those phases. They've drafted incredibly well. They've kept their players. They've rewarded their players. They've been prudent when they've signed guys that others easily could have acquired, but they saw something in them. And I love their roster construction. I love their head coach. Mark Daigneault is a really smart guy. He's earned his way here, coaching in the G League. Prior to that, a college coach. He was a manager at UConn, where he attended college under Jim Calhoun. So he's seen it from all angles. He was a video guy for a Team USA select group that many years ago featured the likes of Aaron Gordon as a young kid. So I just give credit for development. They are not in a major market. They recognize that they had to do it a different way. Sam Presti saw that, hired the right coach for it, who had vision, and they've been impeccable in how they've selected their talent. And it's come together. SGA probably going to win the MVP. I'm shocked they still haven't awarded it. I'm not exactly sure what they're waiting for. Clearly, it should happen now in the Western Conference Finals. But with that said, there were some nervous moments in that second round series against Denver. Nuggets had championship medal, showed it on a number of occasions, but OKC had enough. I did a bunch of the games last year, second round OKC in Dallas, where it did go sideways. And the pumpkin was apparent at midnight because OKC couldn't get it done again against Luka Doncic and the Mavericks. This year they do, and they're in the conference finals. So a lot of credit to that team, a lot of credit to the organization, to the players, to the depth, all of it. Now, with that said, I'm very high on Minnesota.
Yeah, me too. I know.
They were
ahead,
They were underseeded. They've already been through the steps. They were in the conference finals last year. They recognized that they reached their ceiling with the Edwards Karl Anthony Towns pairing, and they did something about it. And one of the rare occasions where everybody benefited. The Knicks have benefited with Cat, and there's no doubt Minnesota has benefited with the combination of Randall and DiVincenzo.
Right.
So this series to me comes down to OKC taking the next step, Minnesota having already taken that step and having a premier player. And I'm saying this even with a matchup against who we all believe is going to win the MVP award.
Right.
Most of us agree that Anthony Edwards' raw talent is number one right now in the NBA. Is he ready to take on everything that comes with that title? I think he is.
And the funny thing is, how many times have we seen in the NBA, whether it's a young player and a young team, that have to lose once or twice before they could get there? You know, we saw it with Detroit. I mean, I'm going back to the 80s. We saw it with Detroit. We saw it with Chicago. They had to lose one or lose two bad ones to get to that point. And I feel like Minnesota's close to that point where they've lost a big one and they know it. And you're right, because Anthony Edwards, raw talent-wise, got to be – I mean, if we're starting a fantasy draft right now and you can pick any player in the league, it'd be tough to – would you pick Anthony Edwards over SGA right now if you were the general manager of Zach Krantz's Radio's team right now? Who'd you pick first, SGA or Anthony Edwards?
No, I would probably pick Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, me too. Right. And I love SGA. I think he's a great player.
Tremendous.
Yeah, right.
Tremendous player. But you can now start to see where Anthony Edwards is going to end up.
Right.
And SGA has been brilliant, and he's turned himself into one of the elite players in the league. If you win an MVP award, more often than not, that translates into Hall of Fame. If you go through history, I believe there will be only one player that won the MVP award that probably will not make the Hall of Fame. And it's unfortunate because it was injuries that derailed it. But Derrick Rose is probably the only player that'll have won the MVP award that won't ultimately. Now, maybe he gets in eventually, Veterans Committee down the road. Who knows? But I'm saying off of just the pure vote, And that just shows you Jokic will be a Hall of Famer. Embiid, whatever you feel about him, will be a
Right.
Hall of Fame player when it's all said and done. And SGA is going to be a Hall of Fame player. Anthony Edwards is going to be a Hall of Fame player. He's going to do this for a long time at a high level. And I think he has the hunger to be the best. That's what drives him, not just to be mentioned amongst the best. He wants to be the best. And that requires some other interior force that you and I can't begin to understand and the normal person just can't relate to.
No, no. I mean, I don't think I'll ever be the MVP of the NBA. I'll try my best, but I don't
You
think I'll
really
ever.
should. You
I
you should
know.
actually put in more effort, Zach. Everybody's
Listen,
saying it.
that's what you sound like my wife. Okay, come on. I thought we were talking as buddies. I didn't want to get ripped on here. All right. Real quickly, let's wrap around a couple other NBA things, stories. Boston Celtics, obviously with Tatum, he's going to maybe miss a majority of the season. Who knows how
Yeah.
much you'll miss? You never know what these guys know. You know what? I can never say that ever again because that one year that what was it? Adrian Peterson tore his ACL. He's back
Yeah.
3 weeks later. So I don't know.
Superhuman.
Right, he's superhuman, and most of these guys are nowadays. Is this the end of that Celtics team and the way they look right now, you think, in your eyes?
I think it's the end of this iteration. They
Right.
have some issues with salary cap, with new ownership, and having to make some big decisions. Brad Stevens runs their basketball operations. You can never
Right.
take away the championship from last year. That will live on, but it doesn't ensure you anything other than the memories of
Right.
winning the trophy. And they're going to have to make some tough personnel decisions. I think some of them might be straightforward in trying to shed salary and trying to get under that first apron in the NBA. There are financial ramifications that I think previous ownership recognized were going to be a problem and probably did not want to be associated as the owner that broke up the team. So look, we understand how it works now in professional sports. To
Sure.
me, this is a privilege and it's a rich person's game, of course. But if you're relying on the income of a sports team to support your family business, it's a problem because you've got to spend and you got to be willing to spend to win in sports. We don't know with this new ownership group what the mentality is going to be. It
Right.
went for a record price. And with that comes some form of fiscal responsibility at some point. And I wouldn't be shocked if in the short term you start to see the ramifications of it.
Yep, that's stinky the way that the NBA with the aprons now is, but that's just how it is. Luca and the Lakers with LeBron there. Were you shocked from their exit early? Do you think that they're going to be a team to beat next year if LeBron comes back? Because they got put on the same team together in my mind, and I'm sure a lot of NBA fans' minds. Oh, those two guys, they can't lose a series. They're on the team together. Blah blah blah. What do you think going into next year if LeBron comes back and motivated LeBron too? We've seen that also.
Well, I think it's a great reminder in the NBA that you just can't pair stars together and expect that you're going to win a title.
Right.
And there's been a little bit of this misconception in the NBA is just get the biggest names, stick them on a team, and it will definitely work. It won't. Sometimes it will, but it doesn't guarantee you anything. So the growing pains between Doncic and LeBron James, and LeBron actually facing mortality. Uh, this is the reality of life.
Right.
He has been superhuman. And the fact that there is failure in there does humanize him a bit, but it doesn't mean that you can just come back the next year with the same group and assume it's going to be any different. The supporting cast did not quite fit the bill. They do have to address the center position. They attempted with Mark Williams, and we know what happened there. It went sideways and they backed out of the deal. But to me, that was so painfully obvious. They just didn't have any answers whatsoever against Minnesota, the size of Minnesota, not just Gobert, but across the front line. They did not have any resistance. So it's an area they'll have to improve. I think Luka was still getting over it it doesn't matter how famous you are, how much money
Right.
you've made, you're still a human. And the emotional side to me affected him. And it still might be affecting him, getting completely sideswiped and not expecting it.
Right.
Doesn't mean that Dallas isn't allowed to do it. They did, and we know
Right.
what the reaction was publicly. But the idea that you can just skillfully go from place to place and not have a personal impact is short-sighted from people. I think he was personally impacted. Doesn't mean that he can't succeed there and he won't adapt. And I know when you make a ton of money, most people just automatically say, well,
Sure.
he's fine. He'll be fine.
Right. Right.
Yes, he will be fine.
Right. Right.
But to try to understand why things happen, that is a piece of the puzzle, and I do think he was feeling the effects of not feeling wanted and being completely shocked by a deal he did not see coming, and the rest of the NBA did not see coming.
Yeah, I don't think anyone really saw that coming except for two people, Palinka and Nico out there in Dallas, and that's
Yep.
about it. All right, last one, and I'm gonna let you go here from Radio's Yard. One, is your son's too cool to call you for advice still, or not? And B, part of that, how much fun are you still having doing this? Because I'm going to be honest with you, when I told all the boys here at Backyard that you're coming on with me and you're one of my buddies, there's a line of people outside the door just trying to stare at your pretty face right now. So tell me all about it. All right.
I know I didn't shave for you, Zach. This is
You know,
not like
I
me.
shaved. I did this morning. I'm just gonna let you know I shaved.
Yeah,
this morning
yeah.
when I knew you were
That
coming on,
nobody
right?
had that on their bingo
Yeah.
card. If one of us was going to shave,
It was gonna be me, right?
yeah.
Exactly.
The reality is, no, my son and I don't speak. We've been in a family feud. We were both nominated for Emmy Awards,
I know.
and since that nomination, we've decided not to talk to one another, and
Mm,
it's getting rather awkward and Shakespearean in
yeah.
many ways. No, we communicate every
Right.
day.
I'm sure.
He's not too cool. He
Okay.
calls for life advice
Good.
and broadcast advice as well. I'd say more life than broadcast, but
Good.
broadcast is a part of our relationship. It is not the determining factor in our relationship. And yes, it's been beyond cool. I am proud, and that doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of the dad son dynamic, and how he's handled himself has been really remarkable. It's blown me away, and uh, it's beyond cool.
Awesome.
It's been awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. No, listen, outside of him blowing me off at the Big Ten Media Days, I still love your son. I really do. Never going to forget that. No, I'm just, when you watch this, Noah, just know I'm never going to forget. I talked to Marvin Harrison Jr., and
Yeah,
then you blew me off. And I
yeah.
called your dad, and I told on you also. You
Sad,
forgot your dad. I did tell him.
sad. Yeah, I did. I grounded
Yeah,
him for that,
good.
Zach. I
He
just hope you
deserved
know.
that. He
Yep.
deserved that. He's got to stay in Friday night and clean his room. That's it. That's how we're going to do it here. God, I'm just such an old guy now. Ian, I can't thank you enough. Love talking to you. You know I'm going to bug you again coming up soon, but really happy to have you as one of my first guests here in Radio's Yard here on the new Live at a Dollar podcast network. And glad to hear, especially in the beginning, because we're going to make that a clip that I could call you anytime and bug you anytime, because we're going to definitely do that. You know that, Ian.
Yeah, did I say that? I don't recall.
Yeah,
You might have
cut
to
that
play
clip,
back.
guys. Don't forget, cut that clip. We're sending it right there.
Zach,
Right there.
my pleasure, my honor, and it is true. I'll follow you anywhere you go. So you just keep me in the loop, and I'll be there.
You know I do. We have the funniest text message conversations of all time, but that's just between us two and no one else. Actually, Kobe saw it, so he's in it also.
It's all right. He's allowed.
That's Alan Brown's buddy, so we're okay with that.
He's allowed. We're good.
As
We're
we go.
good.
Right, we're good with that. Ian, thanks again. Thank you as always. We'll talk to you again
All right,
soon. And honestly, thank you for being one of our first guests here on the Live at a Dollar podcast
Yeah.
network.
Yeah, and thanks for shaving, Zach. That shows a lot.
I also put on deodorant. Just you can't smell it, but I
Well,
put on deodorant also, right?
that one I'm not buying, but
Okay.
cool.
Well, you never know. I might not have deodorant on, so you never know at that point. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the great one himself, Ian Eagle, joining us here in Radio's Yard on the Live at a Dollar podcast network. Make sure you subscribe to all of our new stuff that we have here. We're going to have great guests like this all the time. Well, we're going to have guests, not great guests like this all the time, because that's not fair. I'm not going to do that to Ian there. But thanks again, Ian. We'll talk to you again soon.
See you, bud.